You are face to face with the Excalibur sword, the
Like you find
divine sword of legend. And I love how it put that in this way of the greatest power is forged through sacrifice, sacrificing ideas of who we once were, sacrificing our ideas of who we believe we are until we're in that moment and go, this isn't true anymore about me. Hey everybody, welcome to Folklore and Flourish. You're here with Mark, Jane, and Molly. Today is March 10th. Today is all about the weapon, all right? So today in the test, our tested hero finally comes in contact with the weapon. Our theme is power bestowed. So we know that with these stories, it's going to be a weapon of not only, serious consequence, but of divine reckoning and consequence as well. So with these 4 stories, we're actually going to see it through British, Hindu, Norse, and Japanese folklore today. Right away, I can just imagine people watching this and hearing Britain and the weapon. It's arguably the most famous weapon of all time. You're going to hear some things you may not have heard before about this story, kind of threw us off. But anyways, go ahead and listen to these 4 stories and we'll catch you right after this with the weapon.
Before we begin, I want to take a moment to honor the cultures behind the stories we are about to explore. The tales shared here come from many peoples, lands, and traditions. I do not change these stories to fit modern expectations or to align with today's social standards. Instead, I present them as they were told, sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh, sometimes challenging. We are not here to judge the past, but to understand it, to listen, to learn, and to honor the ancestors who carried these stories forward. We also share stories from various religious traditions. These are presented in their historical and spiritual context, with respect for their beliefs that they represent. Every culture deserves respect, context, and acknowledgement, and this space is dedicated to doing exactly that.
Story 1, Excalibur, Sword of the Once and Future King. In the mist-covered hills of ancient Britain, long before the land was united under one crown, the kingdom stood divided. Petty kings ruled scattered territories, rival lords fought for power, and the people of the land lived beneath constant uncertainty. No single ruler held the authority to bring peace. When the High King of Britain died without an heir, the realm fell into deeper chaos. The wizard, Merlin, advisor to kings and keeper of ancient wisdom, knew the land required a ruler chosen not by ambition, but by destiny. And so a strange challenge appeared. In the courtyard of a great church in London stood a massive stone. Embedded within that stone was a shining sword. Upon the stone were written words that would change the course of the kingdom. Whoso pulleth this sword from this stone and anvil is rightwise king born of all Britain. Many knights tried. The strongest warriors in the land grasped the sword's hilt and pulled with all their strength, but the sword did not move. Seasons passed, and still no one could remove it. One winter morning, a young squire arrived in the courtyard. His name was Arthur. Arthur was not a knight. He had no royal title and no great reputation. He served his foster brother, Sir Kay, by caring for horses and equipment. When Kay realized he had forgotten his sword before a tournament, Arthur ran to retrieve one. Searching the city, he found none. Then he remembered the strange sword in the stone. Arthur approached the courtyard quietly. He grasped the hilt and pulled. The sword slid free as easily as if it had never been held at all. The crowd gasped. Merlin stepped forward. "This," the wizard said, "is the will of destiny." Arthur would later receive another sacred sword from the Lady of the Lake, a blade known as Excalibur. Its steel shone brighter than ordinary metal, and its scabbard held powerful magic that protected the king from mortal wounds. But Merlin reminded Arthur of something important. The sword does not make you king, Merlin said. You make the sword worthy. Arthur carried Excalibur not as a symbol of conquest, but as a promise to protect the land and its people. Under his rule, the Knights of the Round Table fought not for power, but for justice. And though Arthur's kingdom would one day fall, the story of Excalibur remained. For the sword represented a truth greater than any crown. Power is never owned, it is entrusted. Story 2, the Vajra of Indra. In the earliest ages of the world, when the gods walked openly among the mountains and rivers of the earth, the heavens were ruled by Indra, the king of the gods. Indra was a warrior deity, a protector of the cosmic order known as Rita, the sacred balance that kept the universe from falling into chaos. Storm clouds followed his command, and lightning answered when he raised his weapon. But there was a time when even Indra feared defeat. For the world had been seized by a terrible being known as Vajra. Vajra was a massive serpent or dragon who coiled around the mountains and imprisoned the rivers of the world. His body wrapped around the waters of the earth like chains, preventing the rains from falling and the rivers from flowing. Without water, the land withered. Fields turned to dust, forests shrank, even the gods grew worried, for without flowing waters, the balance of the world could collapse. Indra prepared to face the serpent. Yet he soon realized something troubling. No ordinary weapon could defeat Vajra. The serpent's scales were harder than iron, and his coils held the strength of mountains. Even the thunderbolts Indra had once wielded were not powerful enough to pierce him. The gods gathered in council. "We must create a weapon worthy of this battle," they said. But no metal was strong enough. No fire burned hot enough. Then the divine sages proposed a terrible solution. There lived a holy sage named Dadichi, a man whose spiritual devotion had filled his body with immense power. Through years of meditation and sacrifice, his bones themselves had become stronger than any earthly material. The gods approached the sage with heavy hearts. "Only your bones," they explained, "can become the weapon that will defeat Vajra." The request was immense. It meant the sage must give his life so the weapon could be forged. Dadichi listened quietly. Then he smiled. "If my life can restore the rivers of the world," he said, "then it is worthy offering." With peaceful resolve, the sage gave up his mortal body. The divine craftsman of the gods took his bones and forged from them a weapon of unmatched power, the Vajra. The weapon shone like lightning froze in solid form. Its shape held both the force of thunder and the stability of a diamond. Indra lifted the Vajra in his hand. The storm gathered around him. Then he rode into battle. Vajra rose from the mountains like a living wall. The serpent's coils wrapped around the sky, blocking the sun. "You cannot defeat me," Vajra roared. But Indra raised the Vajra. Lightning exploded across the heavens. The thunderbolt struck. The Vajra pierced Vajra's armor like scales and shattered the serpent's power. With a final cry, the great dragon fell. As Vajra's body collapsed, the imprisoned waters burst free. Rivers rushed across the land. Rain fell from the sky. Life returned to the earth. The world breathed again. From that day forward, the Vajra became a symbol not only of power but of sacrifice. For its strength did not come from conquest alone. It came from the selfless gift of one who understood that true authority is never taken, it is given. Story 3, Mjölnir, the Hammer of Thor. In the high halls of Asgard, where the gods of the Norse world gathered beneath golden roofs, there lived the thunder god, Thor, son of Odin and defender of both gods and humans. Thor was known for his immense strength and fierce courage. When storms rolled across the sky, people believed it was Thor driving his chariot across the heavens, pulled by two magical goats named Tengrisnir and Tenniostir. But Thor's greatest power did not come from his strength alone. It came from his hammer. The hammer was called Mjölnir. Its story began not in battle, but in trickery. One day, the trickster god Loki caused trouble among the gods once again. Through one of his many schemes, Loki cut off the long golden hair of Sif, Thor's wife. Thor was furious. Without her shining hair, Sif's beauty and honor were damaged. Loki knew Thor's anger could easily destroy him, so he rushed to find a solution. Loki traveled to the underground realm of the dwarves, master craftsmen who lived beneath the mountains and forged weapons of unimaginable power. There, he visited the sons of the dwarf Evildi. To repair his mistake, Loki convinced them to create new golden hair for Sif. The dwarves crafted strands of pure gold so fine and magical that when placed upon her head, they grew like living hair. But Loki's clever mind could not resist another challenge. He boasted that other dwarves could never craft treasures as magnificent. This angered two master smiths, named Sindri and Brokkr. "We will create objects far greater," Brokkr declared. "If we succeed, you must give us your head." Loki agreed, confident that no treasures could surpass the work already made. The dwarves began their forging. Brokkr worked the bellows, while Sindri placed magical materials into the fire. First, they forged a golden boar that could run faster than any horse. Next, they created a magical ring that multiplied itself into many identical rings every 9 nights. Finally, Sindri placed a final piece of metal into the furnace. "Do not stop the bellows," he warned. But Loki, fearing what the dwarves might create, transformed himself into a fly and began biting Brokkr again and again. Despite the pain, Brokkr continued working. Yet just before the forging was complete, Loki's bite forced Brokkr to pause for a moment. The weapon that emerged was magnificent, but its handle was slightly shorter than intended. The dwarves revealed their creation. It was the hammer, Mjölnir. Though its handle was short, its power was unmatched. Mjölnir could shatter mountains with a single blow. When thrown, it never missed its target and always returned to Thor's hand. The gods gathered to judge the treasures. They agreed that Mjölnir was the greatest of them all. Thus, Loki lost his wager. Though he cleverly escaped losing his head, Thor gained the weapon that would become the greatest protector of the 9 worlds. From that day forward, whenever giants threatened Asgard or chaos rose from the frozen lands of Jotunheim, Thor lifted Mjölnir into the sky. Lightning flashed, thunder roared, and the hammer fell like the judgment of the storm. Yet despite its destructive power, Mjölnir also served another purpose. It blessed marriages, it protected homes, it consecrated sacred oaths. For Thor's hammer was not merely a weapon of war, it was a guardian of order, a reminder that strength must exist not only to destroy enemies, but to protect the fragile balance of the world. Story 4. Kusanagi, the Sword of the Storm. Long ago, in the age when gods still walked the earth and the islands of Japan were young, there lived a powerful storm deity named Susanoo. Susanoo was the brother of the sun goddess Amaterasu, ruler of the heavens and bringer of light to the world. But where Amaterasu governed with calm radiance, Susanoo carried the wild force of storms. His temper was fierce and his actions often reckless. After causing great destruction in the heavenly realm, Susanoo was banished from the sky and cast down to the earth below. He wandered across the land until he reached a quiet province called Izumo. There he encountered an elderly couple weeping beside their home. Susanoo approached them. "Why do you grieve?" he asked. The old man bowed deeply. "My name is Ashinazuchi," he said. "This is my wife, Tenazuchi. We once had 8 daughters." The old woman covered her face with trembling hands. "But each year," Ashinazuchi continued, "a terrible serpent comes from the mountains. The creature was called Yamata no Orochi. It was a monstrous dragon with 8 heads and 8 tails, its body stretching across valleys and hills. Its eyes burned red like winter fire, and its scales were said to be covered in moss and ancient trees. Each year the serpent devoured one of their daughters. Now only one remained. Her name was Kushinada Hime. Susanoo listened carefully. Then the storm god smiled. "If I defeat this serpent," he said, "will you allow me to marry your daughter?" The parents agreed immediately. Susanoo then devised a plan. He instructed the couple to brew 8 enormous barrels of strong rice wine, known as sake. Next, he built 8 gates and placed a barrel of the wine behind each one. When night fell, the great serpent descended from the mountains. The earth trembled as Yamata no Orochi slithered toward the house. Its 8 heads sniffed the air. The scent of sake filled the valley. One by one, each head pushed through a gate and drank deeply from the barrels. The serpent grew drunk. Soon all heads collapsed in heavy sleep. That's when Susanoo struck. Drawing his blade, he attacked the sleeping monster. With fierce blows, he cut through the serpents' heads and tails until the great beast lay defeated. But as Susanoo cut through the final tail, his sword struck something hard. Inside the serpent's body, he discovered a magnificent blade. The sword shimmered with divine power. Susanoo called it Kusanagi no Tsurugi, meaning the grass-cutting sword. Later, the blade was presented to the sun goddess Amaterasu as a sign of reconciliation between them. In time, the sword became one of the 3 sacred treasures of Japan, alongside the sacred mirror, Yata no Kagami, and the jeweled necklace, Yasakani no Magatama. Together, these treasures symbolize the divine authority of the Japanese emperor. Yet, the origin of the sword remained forever tied to the moment a storm god faced a monstrous dragon and discovered power hidden within the body of chaos itself. For sometimes the greatest weapons are not forged in fire. They are revealed in the act of courage. Hey everybody, welcome back in. Hope you enjoyed those 4 stories, those 4 different weapons. I believe, 3 out of the 4 of them were swords, right? And then one was the hammer. The infamous hammer that almost everyone, regardless of if you like folklore and mythology, regardless, you probably have seen or heard of it before.
Right. I mean, Marvel made it pretty big, so.
Yeah. Today was March 11th, the weapon, and it was the theme of power bestowed. So all of these weapons were bestowed. They were divine in one way or another, given, earned, proven through our own worth, And our lesson is that authority is borrowed. So as we see in the very first story, we were talking about the weapon. So why at all did we need to bring up that the kingdom falls?
Right.
The kingdom does fall, and that's because authority is borrowed. Arthur was the king. He earned that, but it was on borrowed time. And I think that that's something we don't necessarily think of sometimes with these stories because, we want Arthur to live forever and have a happy life. We want Thor to conquer anything because we see things like the weapons, the hammer, so Mjölnir and Excalibur. We see those and we want that person to win. They have this mighty thing, all this stuff, and then we hear they all fall eventually. And so jumping right into the first one, the very first story, we heard something a little bit different. Most people assume and most people think that Excalibur is the sword that's pulled from the stone, and it is not.
Yeah.
That sword is broken in battle.
But then again,
or broken in a fight.
I guess I did know that the Lady of the Lake did give Excalibur to. That's like one of those things where it's like I tricked my own brain because I knew as soon as it said the Lady of the Lake, I was like, oh yeah, the Lady of the Lake. I totally forgot about her because in the cartoon it doesn't show the Lady of the Lake.
Right.
So like for years, that's all I watched. But yeah, now I remember.
I never really thought about it. I just always thought King Arthur. I mean, it's pretty straightforward mythology, Arthurian mythology, right? This British. And I put British in this one. So if you're watching this and you're Scottish or Irish, please don't attack me. I put it because this is a version of Britain's Excalibur story. So that's another important aspect that we need to understand is that King Arthur, he was the king of Britain of that time, king of, what was it? What was this place called? Camelot?
Yeah.
So the king of Camelot, which, they still argue to this day. Was that in Ireland? Was that Scotland? Was that England? Was it all 3?
Was it the Americas?
Was it? Yeah. So there are a bunch of things, but for this one,
that's a new one.
It was a British one. But it's kind of interesting that the fate of such a powerful kingdom. Let's say that King Arthur was the king of England. That is, throughout history, we see as one of the most powerful monarchies have come from that area, that region, in all time. And the fact that kingship was left straight to destiny was that it wasn't left to brute force or cunning. I watched an episode, so the Excalibur Forged in Fire, I watched an episode, right? They're making the long sword or the broadsword, how they referred to it. I don't know the exact verbiage that they used, but immediately when they said what kind of sword was being made for that challenge, they knew they were making the Excalibur blade. And I saw the guy make it, and Yeah, swords are beautiful, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Weapons. All right, we saw 3 swords, so let's talk about them. We see it, but this guy made it, and I believe it's this episode, but he made it with Damascus. So that rolling, some of these blades, like the actual craftsmanship, are beautiful.
Well, that was people's jobs back in the day.
Right.
And for one, I wouldn't want to mess with a blacksmith, I don't think. I think they probably punch harder than anybody for how much they just sit there and just.
Well, you think too that they would probably be someone you'd want in your corner.
Yeah.
Because think about the heat that they're working in, the dire stress that their body is under. They aren't drinking water because it's hot the whole time. They're burning way more liquid than they're intaking. And I 100% agree.
They're probably pretty bad dudes and maybe females. I don't know. Like, I don't know enough about that area, but I don't think so.
All I truly think of are a lot of the time the dwarves through the Norse mythology or specifically Hephaestus.
Yeah.
2 of the major ones. I don't know, honestly, what kind of folklore has female. What are they, masonries? Or no, blacksmiths. But yeah, the sword itself is an intentional weapon chosen for a king. Yes, we think guns, 100%. Guns going to get the job done quick nowadays.
But you still.
But the seriousness of the quality of your weapon when we lived in times of, what is that called?
Hand-to-hand combat?
No, of like medieval times. So when we lived in medieval times and we had more of that hand-to-hand combat, we see the innovation of those people around the world, right? So we always assume like scientists. We always think that scientists are the smartest people. But then you go and when you really dive into how these blades are made and some of the skills that are put in, we saw it in this story. It is literal magic that they're creating in their forges. And Excalibur, I mean, when he got it, it was a blade that protected him from mortal wounds. So he pulled the sword from the stone, but then he had to have this weapon bestowed on him after doing so.
Right. And I would like to look more on the Lady of the Lake. I used to know.
I believe we have several Ladies of the Lakes in a lot of mythologies.
Right. I used to know a lot more about this tale. So, and I'm super excited to be coming back in it. And then some of the other ones that we've heard, it's just fun. So if you guys are watching and you are excited about one like me, this one.
A lot of people do, but a lot of people like King Arthur and know King Arthur. I mean, they literally call it Arthurian mythology.
Right. Is it a big debate though back there? Like over.
I mean, there are a bunch of different places that you can tour. And I mean, I saw it through one of Josh Gates' shows where it is. No, he was Irish. Or no, he was.
So it's like those, the food things when that dude travels across the U.S. and like the Philly cheesesteak, the people who fight who said they made it first.
Right.
No, we made the first Philly.
Yeah. And so, but can you blame them? Excalibur is probably the most
Why wouldn't you want that?
The most famous weapon throughout the world.
I mean, start diving in your lakes if that's where you're from and go find Excalibur.
I'm sure the Scottish love that you're telling them to just dive in their lakes as if they don't have bigger problems to deal with in their waters.
Just go in there. Find Nessie too.
Nessie is the Lady of the Lake.
Maybe she was. Go ask her. Maybe I'll go. Maybe she'll give it to me.
Bold of you to just go into someone's home and just start asking questions.
What if that's my home originally and I just didn't know it? And then I go back and then Nessie's like, by the way, here's your sword again. And I'm like, oh, cool. That's right. That's right. I was King Arthur.
Can you stop before we don't get, like, we get excommunicated from Scotland or something? We're never allowed to go there. They're going to be like, don't let these people here. They're going to harass our creatures. They're going to harass our creatures. I don't know. Whenever I heard the stories, I always assumed that all of those 3 regions were part of the Arthurian, but I thought that Ireland was that like heavenly island that they would go to. I thought Ireland was that magical like heavenly place because it is. I mean, you have Scotland and England together. Ireland's by itself. That's what I always thought it was. But I don't know. Then you could go, wait, is Iceland the faraway distant, is Greenland, is all these other places.
Right.
But, I mean, with how amazing and how great of a king he was, I would assume that all 3 of those lands were King Arthur's.
Yeah.
Without question. And I am interested to see what the historical stuff is on, there are people really fighting to prove which
Why
king it
wouldn't
was,
you
who
want
it
to
is,
though? Why
where it
wouldn't you
is.
want to? I would. Like
Right.
that is a lot of just like honor. Like we were
So
King
then what would
Arthur.
you do? What would you do if that was proven? And the way it was proven was you were face to face with the Excalibur sword. The
Like you find it.
divine sword of legend.
I bet you like uncontrollable tears. 1,000,000%. And I wouldn't even be sad about it.
Okay,
Like, I wouldn't
so
hide it. I'd just be like,
is it buried with the king?
no, Excalibur is back in the lake. That's why I said dive in the lake. They threw it back in. The lady of the lake got the sword back. I'm almost positive.
So then, I don't know,
I do got to look it up. So if I got it wrong, my bad. But I'm pretty sure the sword went back to the lady of the lake.
Wouldn't it be cool if this never happened yet?
The Arthurian?
Like the sword is still in the stone.
Ah.
And we've lost the stone or whatever. Superpowers have it. The elite have it. But what if all of this stuff we're seeing is just the same way it's going to end?
Yeah.
But in reverse.
Just restart it.
Like
yeah.
The king that has come back to unite us all.
Right.
Falls to all this like stuff. Like reverse of fortune almost. But anyways, let's go into the important note is that a weapon does not create power. It reveals the character of the one who holds it. So when he lost his reigns over his kingdom, okay, we won't get into it too much, but trusted best friend and his wife. Heavy people bringing it down and there are different versions, whatever. When he was losing his reign, the weapon, I think, was starting to back away too. The king's authority was leaving.
I think that's why it was in the water, because it was like, you know what, it's over.
It's borrowed. It's borrowed, which means it has to come back. And Arthur was defending the regions. He was uniting the regions. If we want to assume and guess, that would mean Arthur has to fall.
Yep.
Because that cannot go in the wrong hands. It needs to be bestowed on someone. It's borrowed, which means that eventually our great king will fall. And that weapon will be lost, know.
Right.
All right, but moving into the second one, this was a story that you said you felt like you heard before, the Vajra Indra. So the Vajra was the weapon that was forged through
the bones.
I haven't heard this story, and I just really liked it.
Yeah.
I mean, what did he say? He wasn't... let me relook at this thing.
Like the honor of using his bones, pretty much.
And the bones weren't of immense power for anything other than the deeply spiritual strength that one had. So that holy sage, right? A man whose spiritual devotion had filled his body with immense power. Through years of meditation and sacrifice, his bones had become stronger than any earthly material.
That's amazing.
So this is someone that...
It's divine destiny.
100%.
Divine calling, just whatever it is.
Well, and that whole sense of how essential our spirituality is. And that does not mean I believe in this or I don't believe in this, because both of those are spirituality, right? So us knowing who we are and what we believe in is hugely foundational. The same thing that the Buddha went through, meditation and sacrifice, and then just maybe I don't know, and that's when he got it. I mean, we don't see the story of the holy sage here other than the end. The end. He did what he was meant to do. He was placed there, and he was in his own spirituality. They never once said, oh, he became spiritually sound and spiritually strong so that his bones could one day be the strongest thing in the world, so that he could be this immense power, immense being. That's not how it works. No. And I love that he said, if my life can restore the rivers of the world, then it is a worthy offering.
Yeah.
It wasn't a sacrifice. It was an offering. He knew what sacrifice was. And the way that I thought about it as I was reading it was, like, could you imagine? I did all that work, and I knew that I was worthy. And I'm the only worthy one to do this.
Like, what an honor.
Because everyone is the only worthy one for something. And that was this one. And all this sacrificing, all of that stuff. You met peace. You would have to meet peace to be that immense of a spiritual person.
Yeah. I saw a really cool quote that kind of reminded me. You just reminded me of it. It said, "Be yourself because everybody else is taken."
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. Just that was pretty neat.
And it also made me think, going along with what you just said, be yourself because everyone else is already taken. I am the only one that can do this.
Yeah.
And it is beautiful because it doesn't go into detail about the gory, we're tearing apart someone's body or you're going to use my body parts. It was, this is my destiny. This is my purpose. And what a worthy offering. I am a worthy offering.
Yeah.
Because look at what my body will help do. And it's not my body anymore.
And it's what you created to make it do too. It's not. And
that, I think, I'm glad that we don't do this. But looking at folklore, I think that this story is beautiful. Also with, he was used, you know. This is a vessel.
Yeah.
And
a meat suit.
He harnessed it. He utilized his energy and the vibration within his bones.
Yeah.
And then returned it to the earth. My path in this body's done. I've gotten you this body that you can use.
Yeah.
Because we're all used, but it's always in that gross, we don't see it, you know, we're rotting kind of way. We're in this way, he's still rotting away, but we get to see the direct influence that his body made to the world. And that kind of gives hope because it may not be that our bones are so strong that it's going to slay dragons.
Yeah.
But it could be the very nourishment that grows a fruit tree that feeds starving animals. It could be the very thing that gives life back to soil. So I think that's important to think of with these. And the important note for this one is that the greatest power is often forged from sacrifice rather than strength. So again, the greatest power is often forged from sacrifice rather than strength. Forged, which means I'm just picturing an actual forge of you're putting it in, you're pounding it, you're dipping it, you're pounding it, whatever the process may be of just going. It's nothing about it's gentle. Nothing about forging a weapon is gentle. It is hard work, like you said. Like those people are massive beasts. Like I don't care if you're a 5-foot female, you are a beast if you're working a forge.
Yeah.
Which there are.
If you were a blacksmith, like legit.
And I mean, even just to play around with it. It's like we looked at the glass blowing and how, yeah, it'd be fun to learn, but you need to be in shape just to learn it.
Yeah.
Like ultimately you have to. And this, our bodies are forged every day. They take beatings, they get relief, they get thrown into the fire, and they're tested. We are tested daily. And I love how it put that in this way of the greatest power is forged through sacrifice. Sacrificing ideas of who we once were. Sacrificing our ideas of who we believe we are until we're in that moment and go, this isn't true anymore about me. And so I really liked this story. I may look around and see if I didn't put it in more stories moving forward. I'm going to definitely have some days that are probably 5 stories so I can figure out more about this. That's what happens when you're the one making the stories, is that when I see something that I really like, that I'm not sure if I put it in anymore, I'm going to double check. I believe it will, because there were a couple things in there that I was like, wait a second. I remember doing a day that was focused on that, whatever. But no, I love that. And then number 3, Thor's hammer. All right, people, tell me where Norse mythology would be without Loki.
Yeah.
So you mean to tell me that all those kids, Odin's horse, Thor's hammer,
right?
Like
the wall
Baldur,
around Asgard.
Yeah, all this stuff that is directly tied to Loki. And I love the fact that he lets things play out till the very end.
Yeah.
He will let it play out and go, maybe they did best me. Because I think that's part of the thing with Loki. I mean, we keep seeing it in his stories where he will let them go to, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
They did it. Just so everyone knows they're capable of doing it, but they didn't do it.
Why didn't they do it? Huh. Weird. I don't know.
But something about Loki is he brings out the best in people.
Mm-hmm.
In every single one of these stories, people are pushed and challenged. I mean, even the death of Baldir.
Yeah.
His mother went to every end of the earth, making people make vows to protect Baldir and never harm him. But then after, finding everyone that was going to weep for him. I mean, Loki showcased a mother's, a parent, any parent, I guess, how far they're willing to go for their children.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not your favorite child or anything like that. It's just how far parents will go for their children, how far a craftsman is willing to push themselves to go. You think that I can't do it too? You think that I can't create something? They didn't replicate it.
Mm-hmm.
They were bet and came up with 3 other things. Loki's chaos, the disruptors, they challenge us to push beyond what we even thought we could do. And that's why, if you haven't seen it, and it's not the correct mythology by any means, but go watch the Loki series because his ending is exactly what I just said. He's pushed beyond what he ever thought possible, and it is beautiful. And I think that, of all the fictional stuff and all the Marvel stuff, I think that was something they kept beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes. And I didn't realize it until I looked more into his stories, So I'm sitting here going, that's not right, folklore. That's not right, mythology. And then the writers were like, well, maybe we know something, that you aren't catching on to yet. Just another humbling experience of watching stuff and going, they did have respect for the folklore and mythology.
Yeah.
They did make sure that, yes, it's a show that we're making money on and we want viewers. But for those of you that are viewing it for the actual character itself,
yeah,
here you go. And I just really like it. But here specifically, not once in the shows, of course, Marvel shows, do you see that Loki's the reason why. I could have missed it. But in this one, not only is this weapon of immense power, just like Excalibur and any sword, knighting anybody using that weapon, right? This hammer, Mjölnir, can also bless marriages, protect homes,
yeah,
form those sacred oaths and promises. So from this great power not only comes great responsibility, but also comes serious union though, right?
serious union.
So I don't know. I just really liked that. I really liked that we view Thor, and yeah, a lot of Thor's identity is with his hammer.
Yeah.
A lot of it is, just like thunder and lightning are a part of Thor. Well, thunder. But now we get to see that Thor, being a protector, does not mean that you are aggressive, that you are always fighting. Sometimes it means that you're blessing, giving someone your blessing, acknowledging someone, protecting homes. That didn't mean that he was bursting into homes every other night.
Right.
It just meant that was the symbol of we're safe, we're good, everything's okay, because that's watching over us. And yeah, one without the other wouldn't have been as powerful, as meaningful. Could have been way more dangerous, could have been more reckless. But I don't know, I feel like this is hugely important because when we think of protectors and when we think of those weapons, I myself automatically think of men.
Yeah.
In the sense of they always have to be so strong. They have to be this intimidating force. And then we get to see this where, what about a hammer makes you think it's going to bless a marriage?
Right.
Right? What about certain people makes us think that they're capable of doing it, right? Why is a man doing it versus a woman? And I think that this reminds us that, again, the weapon is an analogy for us. Like we said earlier, being forged. And now we are the ones that maybe I'm the protector of someone's home. Maybe I'm the one that they want to bless it because the meaning behind it is so significant. We may have moved away from a lot of our cultural identities, especially in America. That's the melting pot.
Yeah.
That's why people came here. And so we may be moving away from that, but now we have this great opportunity. And I'm saying great opportunity because I feel like we've lost it, of being the weapon for each other in our community.
Yeah.
Being the monster. And I'm saying that because not all monsters are bad.
Right.
And we saw that yesterday. And we're going to see more throughout the test of the hero, but we have this opportunity to be these mythical things for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's kind of where we need to be at more.
Yeah.
And so I could go on for days and days and days and probably do about an hour and 49 minutes straight of Thor. I hope that's pretty close to how long that first movie is, because that would be awesome if it was 149. Anyways, but I could go on and on, but most of us have heard Thor, and we have a bunch of Norse, and we'll have Thor more. But I had to toss that one in. I had to toss Mjölnir in.
I mean, it's...
And also, I love Norse mythology too, and Thor is Mary's favorite, so I had to throw it in there for her. Okay, but the Japanese one. Okay, I shared this a couple days ago. Obviously, we're going to show a Japanese weapon. What's the first thing you thought of?
A freaking samurai?
Right. It comes later, because there's a lot more meaning behind it than just the weapon itself.
Right.
We know that, like the process, the people, all of it. So I pulled a different Japanese weapon to showcase that, wait, what? Japan uses more than one weapon? Yes. You don't make something like the samurai sword and not have other weapons that are also becoming magnificent pieces of work. And so this one, we got to see some people we've seen before, Susanoo and Amaterasu. And we get to see a creature that, we're used to the Hydra in like Greek mythology, the 8 heads. That you cut one off, 2 more grow in its place. And this one, we get to see the Japanese one. I like, though, in these stories, some of the time they're referenced as serpents.
Right.
And other times they're dragons.
Weird, right? Like this one, definitely a dragon.
We think of Eastern dragons. Yes, easy to identify that serpent dragon-like thing. But China and Japan are very different. Very different. Yet Japan has another serpent dragon associated with rivers, associated with the water.
Yeah.
Right? And it's cool because it feels like all the Western dragons are fire and all the Eastern dragons are water.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. But again, we're here with another dragon serpent and with another sword. Okay. So this one, it wasn't the weapon itself that was going to get him through. Right? We don't see it in the other stories so much, but in this fourth one, we see that cunning and cleverness come into effect in order to get the weapon, right? So the weapon does not come from a human, but it comes from the dragon in this one. So this beast is carrying immense power within it. Not just the animal itself.
Well, he swallowed it at some point. Had to have, right?
Or it was a part of him and it's growing inside him. So I would assume that it is a part of the beast.
Like maybe it was one of his tail bones.
Yeah, like not something that was uncomfortable or something that he swallowed or ate like that. I think it
was in his tail.
Well, so, yeah, was it in the final tail? The sword struck something hard. So you would have never gotten to it had you only slayed one head or just killed it through its body.
Yeah, why did he kill the tails too?
He went through the precision of, this is the only chance we have. And I've talked about that before. My personal beliefs. My personal beliefs, I'm home alone. I have to defend myself.
Right.
I've told you about this. I struggle watching movies where they walk away before they are sure that that person's not getting up.
Right.
I'm not at all saying murder.
Right.
No, I'm saying I'm grabbing cords, I'm grabbing tape, I'm grabbing anything I can to make sure that you can't, run after me, whatever. I'm not a runner. I'm not gonna suffer twice from me running and then you inevitably catching me and killing me, all right? But he made sure, without a doubt, this is the only chance we have. A lot of the times you see in movies, women get attacked in these horror films, right? That's part of the genre. And I know that they're playing the game with the shows. I'm not at all challenging that. But I do actually see reports where the woman gets scared or gets locked or they had them and they thought, I need to just get out. And it ends up flipping because they end up getting up and they couldn't get out in time or they're looking for their phone in the house versus running to the neighbor, whatever it may be. And this one just goes to show that when it's life or death, there is no in between. I'm not giving this as advice at all. I'm just saying as myself, I'm going to tie them up and make sure that I won't take my eyes off of you. while I'm in this house. I don't care if my phone's way over there. I'm going to be holding, that bat that I have, be pointing it at you until you got home, right? I'm not taking my eyes off of you. I'm not turning my back. He wasn't going to risk it. Their tails. Why do you need to cut off the tails? Look at why he needed to. Look at what was there.
Yeah, for sure. Like, at the end of the day, Monday morning quarterback, of course I would have cut the tails off. But I mean, I don't really know enough about dragons in Japan's mythology to know what is the significance of cutting a dragon tail off. Does it mean anything?
I think that this is also the Hydra is a big metaphor, and we see it in a lot of different adaptations, but this is just another version of it. And it's very unique in its own ways, right? The 8 tails, they hold significance as well. The number 8, yes, we will get into that. But I truly believe it is that idea of you got to cut everything off. When we talk about corruption.
Yeah.
The Hydra, and let me make sure I'm saying the right name for it.
You're saying make sure you cut the head and the tail off.
Well, yeah, because
not just metaphorically.
The Yamata no Orochi, that was this dragon's name, right? You just got to clean house. Everything's being detached because I don't know, right? I don't know enough about Japanese dragons. I don't know enough about primordial beasts that come out of the volcano, right? I don't know about these beasts, so I'm going to take it all out. He knew how important it was.
Yeah.
Because it had to be drunk to even approach.
Right. And that genius, hello, put it behind a gate and get
Work
her
smarter,
drunk.
not harder.
I love that.
But when you have the opportunity to end it, end it.
Yep. And end it good.
It's like when you watch sporting events and you see your teams messing around because they're far enough ahead, but they're really not. And they play around and then they get bit right at the end and they lose.
I know the Colts felt that a couple years ago against the Vikings.
We want people to watch this, and now you just told them that you're a Viking fan.
They've seen the hats.
Speaking of hats, I'm wearing mine in the next episode.
The Vikings one that you wore yesterday?
No, the only good one in this house.
See this fish hat that you got me? You're saying it's no good?
No,
I mean,
it's
it
good.
is
It's
trout.
just almost as
fishy.
good as the food hat that I have.
Food?
But the important note for that last one is that authority is not created by power alone. It emerges when courage transforms chaos into responsibility. And he, like we said, he had to do it.
Oh.
The courage was necessary to find it. And it only took, I hate to say it, but it took follow through and courage. Because a lot of the times we can have courage and get lucky, but this was follow through. I'm not facing this twice. And that's true understanding of the fear itself. Is that I may have courage and I may stand here and face it, but I will not and do not want to do it again. And so sometimes in our courage, when we get ahead, okay, now hold on tight, analyze, and finish it.
Yeah, because that thing would be pretty mad if you didn't finish the job. Part of it, and if all the tails didn't get cut off, like
it could regenerate.
It'll regenerate. The only way to truly kill it is cut everything.
Maybe that sword was a power source.
Yeah,
and maybe that was the divine magic he be doing.
Yeah, should be.
And so with all 4 of those, our daily thread. Today we encounter the weapon, the symbol of power placed into human hands. Arthur drew the sword from the stone, revealing that rightful authority is not seized, but recognized through destiny. Indra wielded the Vajra, a thunderbolt forged from sacrifice, reminding us that true strength often comes from what others give. Thor carried Mjölnir, a hammer that protected both gods and people, proving that power must defend the balance of the world. And Susanoo discovered Kusanagi within the body of a defeated dragon, showing that courage often reveals hidden strength. What is the weapon you carry in your own life, and how will you choose to use it? True power is carried with reverence, not force. Weapon, power, right? We're seeing a lot of people that are yielding their status, their power to influence others. And some people do it in good ways, some people do it in bad ways. It's the fact that a weapon is being used inappropriately.
Right.
Is the thing, right? And then we see people using their weapon of intellect to play the system. And how can we be mad at people for playing the system when it was written like that.
Yeah.
Using their weapons. Right? And so we see those two terrible things, but then we see people who are using their weapons of their voice to bring together people to stand up against this. People that are using their weapon of consideration and kindness and all of this other stuff that we can use. Weapon does not mean force, like we've said time and time again.
Right.
It could be the fact that you are just the shoulder to cry on. You are someone that without a doubt you will listen, not judge, and you will just hold me. That's a weapon, right? Because you can wield it better than anyone else. I trust you.
Right.
Right. With that daily thread is, what is my weapon? And that is our reflection question today. What is my weapon? Is it my silver tongue, like we've seen with Loki, right? And these tricksters. Is it my sense of justice? You know, there's so many things that it could be. So today we just get to really focus on ourselves in the sense of what is the weapon that I yield that I'm really good with, right? And we're going to think of it as a good thing. Maybe it is I'm a silver tongue. How can I utilize that?
Yeah.
Rightfully. So we're going to do that. And so with that in mind, today we are going to hold something metallic and feel its weight. Is metallic. Anyways, that's all that we have for you today.
Study.
All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Love you guys. Thank you for coming. See you tomorrow.